Hello?
Bryce might be on mute right now. This is Chris, by the way.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Josh?
I'm good, thanks. Hope you had a great weekend, and hope everyone in the group right now had a great weekend. Enjoyed the nice heat.
Yeah, hey guys. Let me. All right, cool. So I guess we're gonna start. Yeah, we're gonna start right now. So hi everyone. Today we're gonna. There is like this thing that a lot of people mentioned during the last, I would say, few weeks about the stop loss, right? So it's something that we see sometimes in our discussions on the group chat. And there is like always, first of all, some people asking me what is a stop loss and how I can apply it, right? So according to the broker I'm using. And so what I was planning actually is just to quickly go over like a strategy of the stop loss, just so everyone has an idea of what it is, what's the purpose of a stop loss. And after that, I'm gonna leave Chris and Josh show us how to set that up with wealthsimple and questrade. So yeah, that's okay.
Okay, sounds
Uh,
good.
okay, cool.
Yep, sounds good.
So if anyone has question, you can just send it to the chat, and yeah, I'm gonna answer to that. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share my screen. Mhm. All right, Josh, you can see my screen. Everyone can see my screen.
Yep,
Yeah,
now I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so basically, like I just like did a little setup, so because I wanted to show a bit how to apply it on the market itself, right? So when you look at a stock chart, a lot of time, when it's time to do a transaction, um, sometimes you want to protect that transaction, right? So if let's say now I'm looking at the Zoom chart, and I'm doing last time I went over a strategy actually how to use the moving averages. So you see here there is the two lines, right? So there is the blue line right here, and there is the red line under it. And what I was saying is that every time the blue line is crossing under the red line, it's an entry point to buy the stock, right? So because I expect it to go higher after, and this is in that scenario, it's mostly for trendy stocks. So first of all, you have to make sure that the stock is trendy to do that, right? So okay, yeah. So yeah, basically on this stock, like I'm right at the end, right? So like we just assume that at the end this is the the day that we are, like, so the current day. And when I'm looking at the chart, I see that here there is my entry point, and I want to enter the transaction, right? So I'm ready to put my money on for the order. Obviously, I don't know what's gonna happen after, right? So one reason why people use the stop loss would be actually to protect that transaction. Sorry, just got a question.
yeah, that
All
was
right.
me, Bryce. I was
Oh
just
yeah,
asking, the
yeah.
blue and orange lines are those different moving averages, and
Mhm.
if so, which ones?
Okay, so the blue line, I think it's the five moving. Yeah, this is five moving average, simple moving average, based on the close price, and the red line is the ninth moving average, based on the close price as well.
So your strategy is that once those two intersect, that's the best time for an entry point.
Exactly. So when this is a trendy stock, so first of all, you have to make sure that the stock is actually going up, and when it does, you just find those entry points where it crosses down, and at this point, you can buy. But the thing is that even with that strategy, so even if I'm buying at this time, I don't know if it's gonna go down after, right? We cannot predict that. So just to protect myself, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put what we call a stop loss to say that if the price goes maybe under, let me just show it, maybe under the red line here, then I'm gonna exit because it's not going according to my strategy. So after, as we see, I enter my transaction, I have my stop loss, and we can see finally it goes up, right? So then I would have made some great profit out of it, something like that. And this, yeah, it's mostly how it works for that. Do you have a question, Chris, about it? Okay, that's good. So yeah, so this is basically how we can use a stop loss just to protect your transaction, make sure that it doesn't go against your strategy. And if it does, you can exit fast, right? So you don't just stuck to the transaction and eventually lose money out of it. Another way to use it is that as the stock is going up, actually at one point we would like to find an exit point, right? So, all right, we have a lot of people are joining. Sorry about that. So yeah, so as we see, for instance, same situation right here, right? So I'm in the transaction. The price is going up, as everyone see. And at this point, I'm just, all right, if I have made enough profit, what I would like to do would be to exit the transaction, right? But a good way to exit the transaction instead of just reselling everything would be to put again a stop loss and just lock yourself into profit and say, all right, at this price, I'm in profit already. So I just want to stay there, right? So I'm putting a stop loss. And if the price goes higher, then I can eventually increase my stop loss. Or if the price goes down, then I'm exiting the transaction. So this is like at the end, you see, I would have just exit and take my profit at this point. So basically, the stop loss is a way to protect your transaction and make sure that you, as if you want to lock in profit and you don't want to always like look at the chart and everything, you can just put your stop loss. And if you want, you can also pull what we call a trailing stop loss that is increasing as the price of the stock increases. So when it's time to exit, then you can really find the higher price, the highest price, right? So you could have exit in that situation. You could have exit really at the top of this bar, right, of the red bar. At this point, you're gonna have your trailing stop, and you're gonna have maximum profit out of it. So, any question about that? I went just fast, just so everyone has an idea. But any question about it?
Not a question, but more of a comment. So for questrade, when you're looking at the order types, you will see that sometimes in many brokers it might be called a stop loss, or sometimes they'll just label it as a stop or stop limit. There are two different ones, stop and stop limit, but sometimes it could be labeled stop or stop loss. So that's just a key note there, just so that it's easier to distinguish between the different ones.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really important to know because depending on the brokers, it might change. Depending on the platform you're using, on different things, you can really have like different words. But at the end, you just have to understand the principle of the stop loss, right? So, if there is no question, actually, Josh, would you like to start
Yep.
just saying
Sure.
how it works for? Oh, sorry,
Yep.
just one question. Oh yeah, yeah, something important. Maybe Monica, I don't know if you can, if you have access to your microphone right now. If you can actually explain that, that would be interesting. Okay, maybe our microphone is not working, but yeah, Monica is asking if,
Okay.
yeah, if it's just saying basically that once you put the stop loss, you can put either a fixed dollar uh,
Mm-hmm.
or you can put a fixed percentage, right? And it's something really, really important because you know that stocks are volatile, right? So I'm looking at Zoom right now that is at $170 at this time, right? And it's not the same thing as if, like, if I'm putting my stop loss $1 down, I still have a bit of, like a bit of space, right, to trade. Even if I'm going $5 under or $10, I'm at 160 now. So you see there is like some room for that, right? But if I'm doing the same thing for Amazon that is at 3,000 now, $10, it's really significant. So sometimes it's better to go with a percentage or yeah, I would say percentage or fixed amount. It depends on what is your strategy, right, for that.
Yeah. The purpose of the stop loss is for sure to it's a way to secure your revenue, or so your profits, I should say. And it's essentially prevent yourself from losing a lot more. But Bryce, like you said, it's a good way to um, make sure that there is a certain amount of money that is available so that the stock can fluctuate and that you're not getting out of the stock too early. So that if the stock were to fluctuate $10 down and then go $20 up, if your stop loss is $10, then you could essentially be bought out of that or sold out of that order and or that trade, and then essentially you could lose out on future profits if your stop loss is too high. So, so that's also a good point there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there is no
Okay.
question, Josh. I'll let you talk for wealth
Okay.
sample. Yeah.
Okay. So with wealthsimple, to use their stop loss or their limit service, what you have to do is once you get to the screen where you're gonna purchase the stocks and it asks you what is the quantity or the number of stocks you want to purchase, right up at the top it will say market buy. If you click that button, it will drop down. It will give you the option of limit buy or stop limit buy. Um, with the limit buy, um, it's a bit easier for beginners to use because with a limit buy, you're just setting that limit as to what you want to buy it for or what you're willing to sell it for. So you put that number in, and then your order is sent off to the market, and it will wait until that price range comes into what you set your limit, and it will proceed to fill your order. Um, Simple also has a stop limit buy, and with a stop limit buy, a stop limit is basically setting up a parameter, and then you set up your limit to purchase. So an example could be you set up your stop limit. You want to buy, or let's say you want to sell your stocks, and you have $100 worth of some shares, and let's say, or sorry, the share is $100, and you want to sell it for $102. So that's your stop there. But then you put your limit to 103. So right now, once you put it at 102, if it reaches 102, it will activate. And so the risk with the stop limit buy is that there could be no fills or it could be partial fills, meaning it may fill some of that order which you asked, and then leave you with shares still unsold, so that you can accumulate a more for loss or so, since it wasn't at your target. Whereas if you just use the limit, it will push everything through for you. So it's easier to use the limit. I also know with the stop limit, it's also used for like hedge managers and so forth. They use it to short stocks. I don't know how to do that, but I know that's how they use it in that manner. And maybe someone in the group that has more experience probably would be able to explain how to short stocks in a later date coming up. Um, and so that's sort of basically the the rundown for using the wealthsimple. You use it the limit buy, which I would recommend for beginners if you want to sort of protect, as Bryce was saying prior, your profit, or you want to use it as risk management. Then you use a limit buy and you set that limit, and your platform, this being wealthsimple, will work on getting that price point you set. With the stop limit, I would say once you have more experience, you're more comfortable, you understand how to use that one, then by all means, use a stop limit. If you are experienced, you would know, yes, once you set that stop limit, it's more, as I mentioned, you're setting up a parameter for the trigger to be pulled, and then you actually have your target price. But if your target price is too far off from your parameter, it could result in a no fill, just because it may not be enough liquidity to fulfill the purchase for you. Okay, so after this group meeting, I'm going to put in the group an illustration using wealthsimple and just giving you a 3-step process really illustrated as how to use the limit buy or the stop limit buy. So you'll hear my voice, but you'll also be able to see what I'm talking about, and it will hopefully be very clear for you guys. All right, Bryce, I guess we can give that back to you and see where we want to go from there. Also, I always like to leave a recommendation. So I did find a cool stock, which I am going to also leave in the group. And anyone new to the group, my style is more value investing and dividend investing. So that's my style. I always like to have a reoccurring payment coming in either every 3 months, or depending how you purchase your stocks, you can have quarterly stocks, because if they're staggered properly, then you could have a payment coming in every month. So that's my style. And whenever I find something which looks very good, I like to leave it in the group and always recommend that you guys do some research. And if you have any questions, always feel free to voice your questions in the group, and we're here to help you out.
All right, thank you, Josh.
No problem.
I would like to add something, just as Josh mentioned, is the strategy is really to buy stocks on the long term. So you have to make sure that also when you use something like the stop loss, it goes with your strategy, right? So if you plan to buy long term, you have to make sure that your stop loss is matching. What do you want to do? Your entry point, exit point as well. So just be aware of that. So like even if someone tells you go right time to buy, put your stop loss at this time, you have to make sure that like you are on the same page, and you want to either go long term, short term, mid term, or it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone has question about wealthsimple, how to use it, you can write it to the chat. Otherwise, Chris, if you can go with the questrade, that would be great. I don't know if there is a major difference between both. I didn't compare both, but there might have some differences.
All right. Bryce, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so what I have open on my screen here is questrade. For the sake of my balances and everything, I've hidden everything, so that should be fine there. So the top right of the screen here, we have the order entries. This is essentially how you place a trade. If I scroll down and click on this order type, you're going to see the list of different orders. So you have the market, limit, but the ones that we're focusing on today are the stop, stop limit, trailing stop, and trailing stop limit. So most of which Bryce and Josh have already explained, but I'll go over and just use a couple examples myself, and hopefully we're just being as clear as possible with what they're used for and the scenarios that would be beneficial for them. So a stop loss, or also known as stop order, Like Bryce and Josh have said, it's a great way of securing profits. As Bryce gave in his example, once you have a stock that's kind of at a certain point. So on my screen here, we have the example of Tesla. For those that know, Tesla's kind of been going skyrocket in the past couple of weeks. So today it's closing at, or it's about 14:30 after market. So I actually do have a couple stocks in Tesla myself. It closed at 1371 today, and it's about 14:30 after market. But let's say I want to set a stop loss. Let's say I want to look at this for tomorrow, and I want to say I want to secure some of this profit, so that I don't lose out on my profits here. I could essentially set a stop loss for tomorrow, of approximately, let's say, if it's closing at 1371, I could set a stop loss of, let's say, 1300. So over here on the right hand side, I would type in the number of stocks that I have within Tesla, whether I want to trim them or not. Trimming means if I want to keep some with Tesla and then I want to just focus on selling a few. And then if I would add in my stop loss, and then I would enter the stop price. So like I said, if it closed at 1371, I want to give it some room to fluctuate. That way it can, if it goes down a little bit and goes back and skyrockets upwards, then that gives me some fluctuation, a fluctuation room, and that lets me give it enough room to be able to make more profit. So in this case, I would enter 1300. There. And preferably this would be during the day. So it would be a day trade, and I would focus on clicking on sell. Once that goes through, it would actually be queued up, and what would happen is if the total price of Tesla ever drops down to $1,300 per share, then that stop price would execute, that order type would execute, and it would essentially sell all the shares that I put in this stop order. And it would try to sell everything that I have. So as Josh had mentioned, the more shares you have, the more that will try to sell at that current time. Sorry, the more shares that you have, it'll try to sell all of those shares, but let's say you have like 1,000 or 5,000 and there's only a certain amount available at that moment, it'll try to sell them all at a different at the price that you requested or slightly off of that price. So it could be 1,300, it could be 1,299, whatever the case is, but eventually it will average out and it will get you out of that order at that point. And that's what it's really about. It's about securing your revenue, securing your profits. Moving forwards to the trailing stop. So this trailing stop, it works very much in the same way as the stop limit. Sorry, in the stop loss, I should say. The trailing stop essentially it will adjust the same way as the stop loss. So if you have, let's go with what Monica was saying, I believe. So if you have a percentage, for example, or let's say you just have $20 off of the price. So let's say 1371 is the close price for today. Let's say my stop loss was 1351. What a trailing stop loss does essentially is it'll adjust based off the price. So if this was to go to 1391 and my stop loss is $20, then essentially my stop would actually adjust to the price of the profit. So if it was 1371 today and my current stop was 1351, if the price were to go up to 1391, my trailing stop would actually adjust and become 1371. So it will essentially move with the price and keep the profit. So I would essentially type in my trailing number right here. So I could put $20 based off the example I just gave. And that would let me trail behind. And if it ever fell below or it hit the trailing numbers, so in that case I gave where if the price went to 1391 and my $20 limit was 1371. If it ever came back to 1371, at that point it would execute the sale order, and it would get me out of that stock. Jumping over to stop limit. So stop limit works in a certain way where I believe this is more for advanced traders, as Josh had mentioned. And for the sake of today's conversation, I'm just focused on the sell orders. So a stop limit essentially works in a way that, let's say you have, let's just keep it simple. So let's just say, I'm going to open up Notepad here just so it's simple here. Let's say you have a stock at $100 and you want to set a stop limit of $98, right? So, or stop loss of $98. And let's say today it closed at approximately $100. Tomorrow morning, let's say due to an announcement over the course of last night, tomorrow morning it opened up at $90. What the stop limit allows you to do is actually it gives the system or the order type a limit in which you are willing to pay, or in this case, sell. So what's happening here is $98 might be considered your stop. However, because it never made it to $98, the system would, in the morning of the next morning, would essentially trigger, if it was just a stop order, it would trigger your sell order at $90. However, adding a stop limit, what that allows you to do is, let's say the minimum you're willing to sell at is $96. A stop limit essentially limits what you're willing to sell in this case. So if the next morning it opened at $90, and feel free to stop me if I'm getting a little bit complicated here, but if the next morning it opened at $90, what this allows the system to say is, okay, the individual was only willing to sell at a limit of $96. And because it's opening up at $90, it will not trigger a sell order. If it was just a stop order and not a stop limit, it would get out at $90. And that's the big difference there. That's the big clarification. What this allows you to do is it accounts for price gaps. So let's say the next day it jumped from $90 up to $96. At that point, it would actually trigger your stop limit, and you would get out at that point. That's when your order would trigger out as a sell. Similarly, the trailing stop limit works in the same way as a trailing stop, and it would just work simultaneously with the stop limit. And all you're entering in for the stop limit is your limit offset and your trailing stop. That's pretty much it for questrade.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question asking on questrade. You have to purchase the stock first before you add the trailing stop loss. And is there an additional cost for this?
So to answer your question, yes, you have to purchase the stock. There's a buy and sell option for every one of these. With each one, so I kind of focused on most of the sell side of things. The buy functionality does focus on a little bit of a different aspect of things. I think that's more for the advanced traders, and we could definitely focus on that later on. So yes, you do have to buy it. In terms of a cost, there is no additional cost from what I've experienced in terms of setting a stop or a trailing stop.
Okay, hopefully that answered your question for Welsh.
One thing, Chris, I would like to check. So if you click on duration, you see you have day, right? On the right. Yep. So yeah, just to make sure that, when you put a stop loss, we have to make sure that there is like the duration as well of the stop loss, right? So if you put your order for today, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be canceled. So the next day, you're going to have to put another stop loss, or you can put the duration to good until cancel, which is GTC.
Mhm.
And yeah, at this time, your stop loss is going to be there for the next day as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bryce.
Yeah. So
Yes, and for the Wealthsimple, their stop limits or limits, they're active for one trading day. So if the execution or the order, sorry, was not executed within that day, then you're gonna have to reset it for the next day. That's for Wealthsimple.
mhm. Okay, great. So one thing I always suggest is that when it's time to exit transactions, I always suggest to honestly just put a trailing stop loss, even if it's really, really tight, instead of just selling everything. Because you never know if the market turns and it goes higher, you can just take that profit, right? So instead of missing on that profit, you rather just put a stop loss, a trailing stop loss that is going to go with it, right? So maximize the profit. Anyone has questions about that? Okay, that seems fine. So last time we did something really, really interesting. And I just asked last time actually if some of you were looking at some stocks that they would like to share with us so we can take a look at it together and see if there is great opportunities and all. So I don't know if anyone is looking at stocks. If you are, please write it to the chat. Josh, are you looking at something interesting these days that we can
Um,
look?
Let me see here. I wrote it down. Let me get my paper. Let me open this. Give me a second.
Or Chris, if you have a good one.
Bryce, the one I told you about earlier today was Cloudflare,
Cloud.
NET.
Okay, let me see this one.
It looks like it's been trending upwards.
Okay, let me see. I'm gonna share my screen.
Yep.
What's the symbol?
Net, NET.
NEP. Oh yeah, I have it in my watch list. So, did you buy some of it?
Yeah, I actually purchased some of the stock there today.
Yeah, they joined the market recently, which is good. Great. Yeah. So you said that you bought some today, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay, cool. Do you know for how long you're gonna keep it?
I'm looking at it for more of a short term. I'm just trying to ride the wave there and see how long it actually keeps rising for.
Mm-hmm.
And when comes time that it starts to drop out, I think what I'll do is I'll set a. It's actually the perfect example of a stop loss. Um, since we're talking about stop losses, this is kind of what I'm focused on. So, um, good news is I've already made a little bit of profit on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with that being said, if it ever starts to fall outwards, I will keep an eye on it, and I will set a stop loss on it, or at least a trailing stop loss. Like you said, Bryce, even if it's a tight one, it's a good way of uh, reducing your losses and keeping those profits.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we can see in this one actually, it looks like I'm just like drawing everything, so trying to find the all of the support and resistance. And I'm gonna put one here. And it seems that like if it passes tomorrow, we'll see how it goes. But it looks like it's increasing well, right? Just in terms of technical, right? So I'm more like doing a lot of technical analysis before looking at the fundamental stuff, right? But looks like really a great opportunity this one. And, yeah, let's see. Yeah. Anyways, that's I'm gonna keep it on my watch list. I think it's pretty great. I always like to see those trendy stocks, right? I think this is the ones that we also want to be in. So And as just mentioned before, with dividends too, that's even better, right? So there is another one that is a solo. Yeah, I think I checked solo yesterday. Um, yeah, they did a big increase, right? Let's see how they are. Um, who has that? Is it? Yes, Stefan. Do you know if they what happened or if there was an event or something? Oh, I think someone shared it in the group during the
Hmm.
yeah during the weekend. I wish I bought this one this morning. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, to be honest, I don't. I never know me. Like, if anyone else wants to say something about those charts, because I'm just saying what I see right on my side. But if anyone else sees something else, that would be great to share it. Because usually when there is events like that, you never know for how long it's gonna last, right? And the
Hmm.
thing is that the stock used to be around $1, even less than $1. So it's not like if the stock was really um, a strong stock, right? So there is those events. I don't know if it's gonna start from there. It might also just go down, and it's gonna go down fast, right? So that's the risky part of it.
Yeah, those are the types of stocks that I always get nervous about when I see the rise. That's when I try to take the profit while I can,
Hmm.
because at that point you never know if it's going to go if it's going to continue going upwards or if it's going to go down.
Hmm.
But like we said in this whole meeting, the whole purpose of this meeting was about stop losses. So it's a perfect example. As soon as you start to see that go down, you set a stop loss, and it's a way of getting yourself out of there and maintaining those revenues, those profits.
Yeah. And for those stocks, what I like to do, if I have to trade events, what I would do is that I always lower, of course, the amount I'm putting on those stocks, right? So I'm gonna put most of my portfolio into like a company like Amazon, where I know that it's always going up. And for those ones, I'm gonna put less. So basically, if I'm losing, I have more space to put my stop loss, right? So I can put it even here. I'm not gonna lose a big part of my portfolio. And if it goes on the other direction, it's gonna go like really, really high. So then you just trade the events, right? But this is kind of event trading, I would say. So if you're interested in that, that's definitely a good thing. And I know that Monica shares a lot of stocks in the morning.
Hmm.
So those are always like for events. I think those are always great to take a look at. Um, okay. Sorry, Stefan. I think you said no. I'm not sure exactly why, but if you can mention it in the comment, that would be great. The other one is Lightspeed. Do you have some Lightspeed?
I've heard of those guys before,
LFP?
um, but I didn't look into them though. But they did come up a few times when I was doing some research.
Hmm.
So maybe I can look into some and see.
Yeah.
Um, as mentioned, I like to look at um, the company itself.
Hmm.
I look into the financials and see what it's all about, and then that's how I go about making a decision to purchase them or not.
Hmm.
So I usually like, I always actually look at the financials and stuff before looking at their charts. That's how I go about looking into my investments.
Hmm. Okay. Um,
Bryce, there's a question in the chat, and I think Josh and I can answer this based off our platforms.
mhm.
Hmm.
So it says most platforms are 15 minutes behind. When you enter the stop loss in your platform, is it based on current time to live or delayed time? So for questrade, you actually have the ability to refresh, and you can see the price at a live point. But with that being said, when you're entering in the stop loss, you are entering it in at the current time, so the live time. And Josh, if you want to talk about
Hmm.
Wealthsimple there.
Yes, for Wealthsimple, they don't have the option to change the refresh time, but you will purchase the price at the current time. So usually, what I would do is you can open up. let's say Yahoo Finance, or even like if you go to investing.com or so forth, or use that app, it gives you real time and real results, as in the stock is trading at $5 at this time, it's the $5. Whereas on Wealthsimple, it could be showing you what it was 15 minutes ago, which could be 560. So I usually open another um, platform or so, which is give me real time. And then when I see that, I just push it in through Wealthsimple, and it will give you that price, but it's just displaying the information at a delayed time, but it's buying it at the current time. I believe just and Bryce probably know, for just for technical technology, it's probably more demanding on the services. So when it's delayed, it's a bit less demanding, and maybe this comes down to this um revenues or whatnot at what they're doing right now. But I'm sure eventually later on they'll change it to real time or so forth. So they give you that option.
Yeah, so Alex says so you need to check down the side for the real time value, otherwise it
Y-
says you right.
yes, that's right. That's right, Alex. That's right. I always use a platform or an app which is give you real time, and then once you see that time, or even some of these apps, you can set up alerts to say, I want to buy this stock today. Let's say let's go with Microsoft, and it's trading at 150, but I heard some news that Bill Gates was behind COVID, so now Microsoft is going to go down to 140. So you can put an alert for 140. And then when it goes there to 140, you can just go into Wealthsimple and purchase it, and just put in the limit, say at this point, or just leave it at market and it will buy it at 140.
Mm. Yeah,
Perfect.
No
cool.
problem.
Yeah, thank you. Just to make sure also with the, I know Chris mentioned something before. When you buy a lot of stocks, right? I just want to make sure that everyone knows that and is aware of it. If you buy really a lot of stocks, you might sometimes not find a buyer when it's time to sell it. That's why me personally, I'm going with stocks that I have high volume, a lot of transactions during a day. If you go with stocks that have less volume, that's a risk because even if you put the stop loss, it's going to trigger at a certain price, but they're just going to try to find a buyer. So if it's at a lower price, then it's going to go as a lower price, right? So just so everyone is aware of that. Always make sure that when you trade stocks, you know that the volume is important for that if you want to sell, right? Yeah,
That's a very good point.
the only other thing I wanted to say, so someone mentioned LSPD, right? And what I like with this one, a lot of time when you open stock charts, especially when they are new stocks, a lot of time the stocks are overvalued before going into the market. So you might see them dropping, right? So right away after a few months or maybe the first month, they're just gonna drop. So yeah, it's really great when you open a stock chart and you see that it's quite stable, right? So it went up, down, but the
Mm.
price is quite stable. So the value of the stock is pretty good. Um, and every time looking at the earnings, like to me, it looks like something stable for sure. I don't know what they do. Um, I don't know, Josh, if you know. You said that you have heard of them, right?
Shane,
Up the lights, up the light speed.
Yeah, Lightspeed.
yeah, Shane wrote their Shopify competitor. I'm not sure if that was about Lightspeed.
Yeah, Shopify competitor, right?
Yeah, it's a point of sale and e-commerce software provider. So
Hmm.
that would be correct. They would be a competitor for Shopify.
Hmm. And you see that they were doing good before COVID. They dropped, but they're still like going up. Yeah,
Yep,
for
they're
a new
bouncing back.
yeah, for a new company, I think it seems promising, right? And as I said, no undervaluation, which is great. Or it would have been also an opportunity. Sometimes, like those. things are really great opportunities.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I would, I'd have to look into it, just really dig into just management, just look at everything as a whole before, I would say anything to the group or so forth. So I'll hold off for now until I have more information, but definitely, the group, as you do find any relevant or good information, please do share it with us, and
Hmm.
that will help us all to further ourselves and
Yeah.
become better investors.
That would be really great to know also what they do different than Shopify. So if someone is interested to buy it long term, because now Shopify is really on like one of the top ones right in Canada.
Hmm.
So yeah, if they do something different, that would be really great to know what is different. Because it might be a really great opportunity for everyone interested in technology.
Bryce, I think one that we'd want to talk about is Tesla, just given the progress of it in the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tesla. You know what I really like about Tesla is that it's a really expensive stock, but at the same time it's really volatile too, right? Like
Extremely, yeah.
yeah, like you see those like 13%, and it has always been like that with Tesla, right? They just go up in a month. You see this is a month, they basically double, right? So and for the price of the stock, usually you just see that in penny stocks. So I it's something I really like about Tesla, so that's why I have some. Chris, I don't know if there is something you want to add to Tesla, right?
I guess the big question here is like, and I'm speaking for the fact that I also own a couple of shares here. Um, I mean, like, for sure, the stop loss definitely comes into perspective here.
Mhm.
Considering that at price, I think we were looking at it back when it was around 950. That's what we were talking about it between the two of us, and I know today it closed at 13 something, and after hours started looking at 1400 something.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the big thing here is wondering when exactly is that dip going to take place.
Mhm.
Um, as we can see, it's kind of skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks, especially the last few days.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, no, I think for from if someone speaking about someone that is investing into it, I recently got into it, and I've just been adding in stop losses. So if it is something that you do tend to look into for investing, and especially considering it's been going up about approximately $100 every few days,
Mhm.
um, definitely add those stop losses in. Make sure you are aware of the current situation and try to keep up with the news for the stock.
Especially one thing, because I know last time Monica mentioned the RSI indicator that I just put at the bottom here. So RSI, when it's over 70, usually it's overbought, right? So it might have a correction soon. So that's really great when you have something like a trailing stop loss at this stage. So at least you just take the highest point, right? You can even go higher, right? So there is no, it's just an indicator. So it's not a real limit. You can go to whatever. So yeah. Josh, you know anything about Tesla?
Not too much. I know with Tesla, the thing with their stocks is that is Elon Musk. He runs it quite a. He's good at what he does, and he definitely influences the price of the stocks quite a bit. So when he's talking or whatnot, it's good to watch the stocks. And if you see history points, it comes down to, it's like with Donald Trump. When he talks, markets either get screwed up or they're good.
Hmm.
So with Musk there, he's when he has announcements where he's saying things or he's on Twitter or whatnot, it definitely affects the pricing of the stocks.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I would take note of for anyone who has Tesla stocks.
If you're interested in also day trading Tesla, you see how it's like, it's kind of predictable. You just see it, right? So you
Hmm.
see there is a lot of places, always the same pattern. So I think it's a great one to trade, right? So most of the time, the more volume they have, the more the patterns are clear. So you see that always the same pattern. So you can try, for instance, at this stage, if I had to enter at this point, I would put my stop loss right there, right? At the lowest point. And if I expect it to go higher eventually, then it's good. It's gonna go higher. And then when it's up, I'm putting my trailing stop loss or my stop loss to exit. But yeah, otherwise, if you keep it for long, you just leave it there and let it go. Because yeah, even after market, still like now 4% up. So it was really impressive. I think during the last 4 days or something. Yeah, really impressive.
Hmm.
All right. Anyone
Excellent.
else other stocks that sorry, Monica? In May 2020, do you know what was the comment, Monica? Apparently, oh yeah, Musk made a comment and the stock dropped 10%. I've heard that many times. I think that sometimes Musk is, yeah, when he gets interviewed, sometimes he say things that are affecting the price, but it's just
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
yeah,
say.
like are really affecting the price. And,
I think what he said was the stock was too high in price, and that's what caused the price of the stock to drop for that day. And
uh,
Monica, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what happened at that time. I noticed there's a lot of comments on like when you go into TradingView, on the right hand side there's like a little bulletin board, and you just have people commenting on the stock. I noticed that when the stock price is going up, everyone's like, "Oh, we're just waiting for Elon Musk to comment about the stock price being
yeah,
too high." And,
uh, and it's the thing is that yeah, with like someone like Musk, a lot of time he makes that right, can make comments, and the thing is that you can also see those as opportunities because when it drops 10%, the comment is not actually something that important, right? So it's a good time to buy, right? 10% drop, you just go in, and the market is going to correct and go back to the original price eventually.
for sure, and I'm pretty sure his board gave him some crap there about not being allowed to say that ever again.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that happens. But last week, too, there was an opportunity with Facebook as well. Same thing, like, oh, sorry, I just missed a comment. But oh, yeah, genius. Yeah, Shanti said genius. I just wanted to finish what I said about, yeah, Facebook. They had something. I know Chris mentioned it. I don't exactly remember what was the event.
They had they had different companies boycotting their ads.
Hmm.
Yes, that's right.
Starbucks was one of their main ones. So a lot of people saw the Facebook price drop heavily. I think around $20 a share.
Like,
And
yeah, 2100, $210. Yeah.
yes, 230, 240, all the way down to 210, 219, or something like there.
Yeah.
And what they'd come back and said is that these ad companies actually don't make much of a difference, and that um, they actually basically said that even though they're boycotting, the stock price actually would bounce back. And next thing you knew, and like within a day or two, it was back to 230, two
Yeah,
forty, and we kind of capitalized on that one there.
yeah. When you said that, I just jumped on it. Right, you just buy, right? It's right there. You know, it's nothing significant. They're gonna fix it fast, right? And
Yeah.
eventually, after 3 days, 2 days, it was up. So
Hmm.
yeah, there is this stock that yeah. Also, someone mentioned in the group. I was following it. It went down 25%. And it's the thing I wanted to say about I was saying about the events is that you see there is this big increase from 220, 210 to $4, close to $4, which is great in one day, but you never know with those ones, right? Because it's still small companies, small stock. So yeah, this is what happened after that minus 25%. I don't follow them, but like I don't exactly know what they do, but when I saw that this morning, I was just, this is really an event, right? So when you know that the event is happening, you can obviously just go in, put a stop loss under, or yeah, like some people, for some advanced trader, what they do is that they basically, you don't know if the event is going to be sometimes good or bad. what they do is that they're gonna put a stop loss under, and they're gonna shut the market with the stop loss above. So they're gonna do two transactions, and if it goes in one side, they just take all the profit, and they just lose a little bit on the other side. So that's a cool strategy, but yeah, it's really based on events. I don't know if you know anything, guys, about Genius.
No, I'm not too familiar with those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, me either.
movies, entertainment. I don't know really, but yeah, I saw them in the group, and I know that yeah, sometimes events, it's always risky. On the long term, I don't know. I cannot say much to them. Are they new? I think they're new on the market. Yeah, you see, for the long term, yeah, it's a
Yeah, you
risky
can see
one,
the
I think.
trend.
Yeah, that's a risky one. As
It's
I
a
said
downward
about
trend.
the
Yeah.
as I said about the overvaluation, sometimes this is what happens. The stock goes on the market, just drops like, and then after it stabilized to something, the real value. But yeah, this one is just going downhill.
Yeah, Shane made a comment there that he heard they have a problem with their board of directors or something like that.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. All right. Was it a recent? Like, is it in the last days or something? If Shane, about that.
What exactly do they do?
They are
The
in movie,
Genius Brands. It's what is it?
movie
Some
entertainment.
entertainment company. It looks like it.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, in the last 2 weeks, yeah, they did a problem with the board of directors. But yes, sorry for that, Shanti. But what I can say is that it's like it seems that it might turn right, but it just goes downhill for now. Maybe I would wait. I would just wait a little bit, especially if you want to buy it long term. See if it's gonna continue dropping, because now there is those events happening, so maybe it's gonna keep on dropping. But if it does go back up, maybe like in 1 month or two, then that would be great to just go in, right? Because it's still cheap and it's a new stock. So I assume that if you know the company well enough and you think that they're gonna go well after, then you can purchase for a longer time.
Yeah, just I mean, my little bit of advice here. I'm
Mhm.
not sure. I mean, it's just me, so take it with a grain of salt or whatever you want to say. But
Mm.
it is a movie industry one, and I know it's like movies like Cineplex and them just opened up this past Friday. But considering Wave Two and all these scares that we're looking at for the movie industry and where we don't really know where it's going to go in the future. I think there's a lot of question marks behind just the movie industry right now. So um, looking at futures or looking at potential profits for this industry right now, it's very difficult to try to gauge, especially at this current time. So I think it's just something to be careful about and keep an eye on it. But for now, I think it's just something you have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
So yeah, and what I do these days to avoid that with all of the coronavirus, I'm trading more like short term. So I'm gonna hold stocks for days, yeah, maybe 1, 2 days, just to make sure that anything can happen, right? Another thing in China can happen, and like it's gonna drop again, or we don't know, right? So since nothing is sure, it might be better to just keep it for not necessarily long term. And we don't also want those companies to go bankrupt eventually, right? So if you invest in them.
That's also a good point. That's a big scare for these small companies.
Yeah, 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 totally. All right, cool. So now it's 7:30. Great meeting, guys. Thanks for all of those questions. Um, the announcement. Oh, okay, sorry. I was just reading. But yeah, thanks guys for all of that. And as I said all the time, once you have stocks that you are, even if you want to enter transactions, you can just share it to the group too. Because every time you guys are sharing stuff to the group, I always look at them. I hope other people are doing that too. Just
And
yeah.
we have one more question from Alex. I don't know if you did address this, but he asked, "Do you set up your stop loss during the pre-market for the day?" So, Chris or Bryce, could you answer that one?
Bryce, I'm not sure how you do it. For me, I would do it during the actual day. Um, I would look at where it is trading because um, the price gap that can happen from over the course of a night is usually what you would use a stop limit for. A stop uh, trade would actually take place more along lines during the day. I think we've kind of addressed it in the sense that some platforms or some brokers only have it for the day trading. Um, and Bryce, I think
Hmm.
you mentioned that there's different forms of the duration you can set. So good till cancel or good till the end of the day. But for me personally, I would set it during the actual day of provided that I was looking to get out of it by the end of the day.
Mhm. Yeah, me too, same thing. So I don't really put stop loss when I enter transactions. It's more when I exit, so when I'm in profit. And a lot of time it's when I'm planning to exit the transaction. So I'm just, all right, I'm gonna close it at the end of the day, but I'm gonna put a stop loss until the end of the day. And if it closes before, that's fine. Otherwise, it's gonna be canceled at the end of the day. So everything is gonna be, I'm gonna sell everything. That's how I'm using the stop loss usually. And yeah, trailing stop loss as well if I really want to have the highest price. If I see that there is still some potential to grow. So yeah, thanks for that question. So all right, cool. So yeah, if as I said, anytime in the group, just share what you're doing, your stocks that you're watching, and also we can all watch them and follow them with you. And if there is great opportunities, always great to share. So thanks a lot for that. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Josh, for the
No
explanation of
problem.
us.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Josh, and thank you to everyone else for joining.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. To the group, bless up, have yourselves a great evening, and we shall talk soon. Enjoy.
All right.